That's her. Yeah, I'm not really planning on showing her face publicly until she's at least 6 months old. But first, I want to introduce myself. Actually, I'm going to get to the point because it's going to be hella long if I do all that. But I just want to let you all know that I got engaged on February 29th, Leap Day 2024. If she cries again, I'm going to have to pause this video. She's awake. It is currently 6:30 in the morning in Arizona. It is March 13th. And guess what? My last friend, I had 3 best friends throughout this pregnancy who were also pregnant. She just gave birth yesterday to her son. So I'm the only girl mom out of my close friend group, but I have a mommy group chat with about 16 moms. So shout out to all the mommies who happen to be in that group chat. And I'm in 3 or 4 different mommy group chats of Las Vegas and the only one out here in Blitz City as well. So I just want to let you all know that my fiance and I, Abid, I met him when I was 20. We've been through a lot. So after getting engaged, I hope you know this was not a planned pregnancy. I know it sounds like, oh, you guys planned it. No, we did not. There's my Arabela. She's 2 months now. But I did want to tell the brief story about how I gave birth. So first, I got engaged, and that was a milestone because I did not want to get married. I've told everyone I really don't want to get married anytime soon. I always wanted deep down, but in my late 20s, early 30s, my mother had me at 32. I thought I would be one of those people who was independent, getting, a job right away, having a career after college. But because I grew up in a very strict environment, I desired freedom. And so I got it twisted. In reality, I didn't want a real relationship of love. So I pushed a lot of people away, unfortunately, growing up. And it feels freeing just to talk about it now because I did push away a lot of people. A lot of people misjudged me. And the only person who saw through that, okay, I don't think she's saying that because she generally wants to just date around. I think she generally loves me, was Abid. But I know this is about my giving birth, so I'll try to get to the point. But I do want to talk about when I found out I was pregnant. So I've been on birth control. This is my 2nd pregnancy. The first time I got pregnant, it was not a happy time for me. So it's in a better place now. I know my fiance was finishing up his PhD in December. I knew that I had 12 credits at the time. Now I have only 9 credits left. No, sorry. I was under 20 credits, okay, at the time I found out I was pregnant. And I hope you guys know, it's like I just somehow knew I was pregnant because on May 10th, 2024, I found out I was 4 weeks pregnant. And part of the reason why I found out so soon is because even though I have irregular periods, it was still a missed period. So I was like, Like I said, I've been my fiance for 4 or 5 years now, so. Point is that I found out I was pregnant, and then I was scared to take the test because, at least we're in a better, we have our place, I have a job that pays well for fast food and whatever. So I FaceTime my best friend Mina, so shout out to Mina if you're watching this. And I say, hey, I'm going to take a pregnancy test with Abid. I bought the Clearview ones, which is one of the best ones that were locked up in Walmart. And let's just say I FaceTime her, and then I couldn't look at it, the result. It was those 3 minutes that I had to wait for the result pop up felt like it took forever. So I went ahead and covered up the screen and just showed it to her and told her, don't show me any reaction. And you could see her eyes were like, I'm like, that means I'm pregnant. And then I showed it to Bean, and Bean's like, okay. And I look and it says pregnant. I'm like, wow. But I could only think of me being 4 weeks pregnant based on my last period. So, but of course we weren't sure or anything. But at that moment, I told myself I'm not going to tell my parents right away. Because I told my parents right away last time. And I just didn't want to tell anyone. I just figured, I only tell my best friend. And at the time, my best friend Alexis was also pregnant. So I was like, okay, I'll tell her. I'll tell a couple of other moms. But I sincerely didn't want to tell my family or anyone close to me because you'd never know if you're going to miscarriage. That's the sad truth. About, I think, 1 in 3 women, I'm not sure what the statistics are, that's what I've heard before, get miscarriage when they're pregnant, usually within the first trimester. So I told myself at least get through the first trimester and then start telling everyone. That was very hard. We had to keep it a secret. And let's just say I had no symptoms until I hit 6 weeks of pregnancy. Like on the dot, based on my calculations, 6 weeks pregnant. Found out I was pregnant on May 10th. Literally 2 weeks later, I was throwing up. A man throwing up while you're working, because I was working fast food, when you have a line of customers, because this was the end of May during summertime. And in Bullhead City, you have Laughlin right across the river. And there's a lot of tourism. So that means it was jam-packed, Memorial Day weekend. It was freaking hard. I did not know there was medication to take to avoid throwing up because I struggled. I remember holding my breath, holding the nausea. It was disgusting. I almost threw up in front of the customers. And there was times where I almost passed out. I was so dizzy that I almost passed out. And it happened 3 different times. And finally, one of my coworkers asked me in front of my boss, "Are you pregnant?" I lied and said no. I didn't want to tell anyone, but I'm sure they thought about it then. I was about 8 weeks at that point. And then I had to tell 2 of my coworkers because I was throwing up a lot. And then my pregnant best friend didn't have any symptoms, so she gave me her pills. And then around July of 2024 was when I finally I worked at another Panda, and it slipped out of my mouth out of one of the customers, and the boss there overheard me saying I was pregnant. At that point, I was 16 weeks. And for the record, guys, I felt no kicking. The only symptoms I had was throwing up and heartburn and nausea. That's it. So I was keeping it a secret, and I did not get my first ultrasound until I was 14 weeks either. And the doctor said, "Your due date is December 27th. And I screamed. I'm like, hell no. I'm not having a December baby. That's a horrible freaking time. And everyone was shocked by how negative I was. I didn't mean it to be that negative, but I sincerely did not want a December baby. So I remember recalculating. He's like, okay. He put his hands up, and he looked at recalculate everything. He's like, okay, I lied. Your due date is actually January 15th. I'm like, okay, that's better, even though it still sucks, to be honest. Capricorn, I don't know any Capricorn I like. No offense to anyone who's watching this, happens to be a Capricorn. I sincerely don't have anyone close to me. My father is also a January baby, but he's an Aquarius. 4 of my neighbors that I'm close with, all January babies, all Aquariuses. Aquariuses and Pisces I really am close to, not a single Capricorn. So anyways, I know that's not really, I prefer that over December, to be honest. That was way better than having a New Year's baby almost. But I was worried that I could give birth early. So fast forwarding, and I finally made, sorry mom and dad, I know you're watching this, to tell my parents on August 18th, 2024, we had a plan that night. I was off work that day. That's why I did, in case they also had a plan to go to a comedy show, a free one, with my best friend, who was also pregnant, with her boyfriend. And we sat down. First, I called my uncle and said, hey, I'm pregnant. Called my grandma, hey, I'm pregnant. Called both my cousins. I just wanted them to hear it before I told my parents. So I had some people to speak to. I don't know why I made a big deal out of it. I really don't know why, but I did make a big deal out of it. You know, like, it was no doubt in my mind when I found out I was pregnant, I was keeping it, you know, for sure, no doubt about it, because now, like, I was such in a bad place when I first got pregnant 3 years ago. I wish I could describe it to you guys, but it's way too personal, and I don't feel comfortable sharing it just yet, to the road, at least. And so, horrible, awful time, let's just say that. I've never been that mentally drained. I literally had to call a mental health hotline because I was that bad, and the guy over the phone said something to me that actually made me realize, you know what, I'm going to keep marching forward. He said to me, you have a lot of love to offer, and it's up to the right people to admire you for who you are. Keep moving forward, don't look back. You're only going to hurt yourself looking back. Well, yo, give me a second, my daughter's crying. But anyways, the only person who really was there for me through thick and thin was my fiancé. And I have a great reputation at losing people. And I did not care. I was like, okay, whatever. Keep leaving me, you know, but it was starting to hurt me. And I realized, you know, myself, I deserve to find love. And a B meeting him at 20, I thought was young. I thought I was going to, you know, find many other people. So before I met him, but he was 1 in a billion at least, or 1 in 100 million, because he was nicer than every guy I'd been with combined. And people from my past said, oh, you're not gonna find anyone nicer than this person. When a B came around, no one believed it. And we came from similar backgrounds in regards to having restrictive upbringings, but we had different cultures with similar struggles, if that makes sense. So I love my parents though, and my family. I finally told the world on August 18, 2024, which is when I posted here on Facebook. My parents no one was really a fan of me telling my family and then posting it right afterwards. But my family was like, don't post it at all. I'm like, well, I'm going to post it at some point. And I got a little too excited, not going to lie, because I made a whole board. If you guys look through my post, it's also my story highlights, so you don't have to dig too deep into it, about like baby Gornet, January 2025. So the whole world knew now. It was not a bad experience. And then my baby shower, my mom really wanted to plan my baby shower as soon as possible in October. I'm like, Mom, I'm only 6 months pregnant by then. She's like, no, because it's right before the holidays, I'm like, oh, really? He's sending me free gifts, okay? So those baby companies, Gerber, sent me socks that says, I'm not crying yet. I had a mommy and daddy decision coin. I had so many gifts. I still have to give credit for. I have not even sent out thank you cards for my baby shower. I know my mom did, because I had to print out photos, and I like to make everything a big deal, only for things not to happen in my favor, but that's just the kind of person I am. I really like to put myself out there, and I'm not afraid to get hurt anymore. Like, I've learned that the hard way. That's why throughout my pregnancy, I definitely struggle a little bit, because I did lose friends. That usually happens when you're pregnant, when you're going through a different transition in life. And I would say I started feeling the first kick around Halloween. I was actually late in the game, because most of my friends could feel kicking by the time they were 20 weeks, 18 weeks. I felt kicking. I threw up everything all the time. I could not eat the same things I didn't throw up that I threw up. So I could not eat the same foods I previously had thrown up. Saltine crackers, salads. Oh my God, I threw that up. I remember eating Jack in the Box salad, and it was the most disgusting vomit I've ever had in my life. I somehow pushed through it, and I hope everyone knows I worked out throughout my entire pregnancy, like from when I conceived to when I was the day of giving birth, okay? Ultrasound, 36 weeks. And the lady looks at it, and she's like, okay, your baby's underweight and you're behind. You're probably going to give birth late. She was only 4 pounds at 37 weeks, which is considered very small. So I thought I was going to give birth late. So around New Year's hits, I was not prepared. We had the crib set up. We had everything set up by the time I was 36 weeks. But I really thought I was going to be late, or if not on time. So I remember Abid around January 5th. He says, January 4th. He says, hey, Anna, hey, honey, I have a work trip, and it's an emergency. I really, really need to go. You're 39 weeks pregnant. Do you think you can hold up when I come back this Friday? Do you think you're going to give birth this week? Should I tell them, like, hey, my fiancé is really ready to pop, or what should I do? And I told him, well, it's work, go. Like, I'll be fine. I'm not on time. I had no symptoms, no Braxton Hicks, no contractions prior to that. So on January 8th, I remember finished up packing my hospital bag. I didn't get to finish my thank you cards. I didn't get to finish my letter to my daughter when she turns 18. I still haven't done that. I really had a lot of things to do. Because I thought, my life's going to be over by the time I have a kid. I've never been around children. None of my cousins, none of my family members have kids. I'm a lone child. No experience, never babysat a child, nothing. Know nothing about children, okay? Only about the fact that I see them in public and that they're a lot of work. So, like I said, it was January 8th, I wrote in my diary that night, Father, they're currently in Northern California, 10 hours away, so my water better not break before then. January 9th comes. My due date was January 15th, to give you guys some kind of idea of how far along it was. So I was 39 weeks in one day. 7:30 in the morning. I go to bed at 4 in the morning, okay? Because I'm a night owl. 7:30 in the morning. I was actually not tired. I felt a lot of liquid come out. So I was like, oh, liquid. Oh, go back to sleep. 7:45. Wake up. Seriously, more liquid. Grab a bunch of towels. Try to stop it. Finally, at 8 in the morning, I accepted my fate. I'm like, okay, is this my water breaking? Because it's coming out very slowly. So I called the hospital, and they're like, is this emergency? I'm like, no, but I need to speak to someone. So, the OB, I called the OB, and I explained to her the situation. She's like, what, do you think it's the water? I'm like, I don't think so. It's coming out slowly. She's like, actually, I forgot what the percentage was. Like a low percentage, I think. Yes, your water can break slowly. I'm like, oh, shoot. Really? I look at the date, January 9th. I'm like, what a freaking horrible date. I had a goal, guys. You guys are going to laugh. January 16th to give birth, the day after my birthday. Why? Because I was born on the 16th, so was my mother. It was just something I had in my head to have my daughter also be born on the 16th. Like, how cool would it be to have 3 different generations born on the 16th of a different month? So, I was also hoping if I couldn't do the 16th, at least an even number. Like January 10th, I don't know, January 14th, January 12th. Even January 25th, 1/25, 25 would have been a cool date. But I was like, seriously, freaking January 9th? And it was in the morning. It wasn't like mid-afternoon where I could pass to the next day. And I remember my best friend, she gave birth within 14 hours. I called the hospital. They said, yeah, your water's slowly breaking. You can get ready slowly since you clearly your water's slowly breaking, so your baby's not in a rush. I got so mad. So I did yoga, I took a shower, I ate breakfast, finished packing the rest of my hospital bag. I even started a group chat because I was sure my water broke. And it was on labor, and I added 18 different women, just without even asking. You know, moms, family members, everyone who I knew wanted to be part of my journey. And give me 1 second, my daughter's crying.